Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to give an article titled 500 Miles and a Failed Relationship. And a big shout out to MLT for sending me this story. And guys, this whole article is written by a woman, and this comes from obviously her perspective on how basically she decided to, after college, when she and her boyfriend graduated, coronavirus hit, world shut down, and she decided that she was going to pretty much hike the Appalachian Trail, okay? And basically, the boyfriend has been trying to, obviously, he's out of college, settle down, get a good job, get a house, basically grow up. But she's a free spirit, as you're going to see. And she decides basically the going on this hike is more important than him. Pretty much just ends the relationship, and that's that. And this whole story is her, from her perspective, what she was thinking, feeling, all that crap, and obviously telling the story about how things went down with her boyfriend and all that. Now, let me make this clear. I don't give a crap what she thinks or feels, but I'm telling this story to show you guys some examples of what things that can happen, help you understand some things for you guys that do relationships. And one of the first things to understand here, guys, you do relationships, is that a lot of times when women are done with guys in a relationship, they're done. Okay? And what I mean by that is they've checked out a long time before they actually part ways. Okay? A lot of guys get really confused and don't get it when their girl breaks up with them and she immediately moves on to another guy, or she picks up and leaves the state or the city or something like that. Like it didn't matter, and her feelings went off like a light switch. And they're completely confused by this. That's because a lot of women will stay until there's absolutely nothing left. And this, in my opinion, is a situation like this. She was already done with the guy, okay? And I believe the trail, maybe something she always wanted to do, but that really was her way of escaping and moving on like that, okay? So for a lot of guys that have experienced that, it's happened to me when I was younger. I just couldn't get it. How could she move on so quickly? That's why, okay? They check out long before the relationship's over. Another example of this story, a lesson to be taught and learned is, you're going to see that she is definitely, like I said, a free spirit. And I joke around when I say that about girls because you can, what really is going on when I say free spirit is something different here. But she's a free spirit, likes to go to fish concerts. What does that say? Went to the University of Vermont. I know some guys that went to the University of Vermont, good guys, but it's definitely a different culture up there, so to speak. And they're free spirits, okay? But so you have the free spirit girl and the serious guy. And while opposites attract, sometimes it's a bit too much. And in my opinion, you got to watch out for those women that are free spirits because it's going to cause you all kind of headaches, all right? And lastly, the important thing about this story is that in the end, guys, if any of you guys have ever been dumped and it hurt and it really sucked at the time, sometimes you look back and realize it was the best thing that ever could have happened because staying with her was just going to make you crazy, cause you all kinds of headaches. And this is clearly a situation that this guy was in a completely different place in terms of maturity and things like that than her. And in the end, it's doing him a favor. But anyhow, guys, I'm going to go through this. You're going to see just the kind of stuff that goes on in a gal's head. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, the title is 500 Miles and a Failed Relationship. Starts off, it's me or the trail. I can still hear the scratchy voice barely coming through my phone. I raced along a ridgeline in the Smoky Mountain National Park as the wind whipped freeing rain into my face and blew the cell service away. But despite the poor reception, I could hear the sorrow in Caleb's voice. The rain couldn't drown out his pleading tone, it's me or the trail. And after 3 years, how could it not be him? He sounded broken. But does she really care? No. And she was with this guy for 3 years. They got a dog together, but do you think she cares about him? You think she cares about the dog? No. In the moment, though, the brokenness only made me angry. How could he not understand that he would never be over the trail? It would never be him or the trail. His ultimatum was an impossible one. I was literally slogging through the wind and rain to continue my hike. I couldn't even fathom getting off the trail, especially not when he was continuously reminding me of how I deserved no forgiveness, reminding me that the only reason we were having a conversation in the first place was I screwed up and done the unforgivable. And wait till you see this. And he was right, of course. I did mess up. I did ruin the relationship. I cheated on him after only 3 weeks on the trail, cheated on him after assuring him for months that I would never meet another person on the trail. Guys, this is an example of what I'm talking about, how basically she was done. She was done in this relationship. 3 years they were together. They had a dog together. I think this guy kind of supported her in some ways, and basically she was done. This is her way of getting out of it. And by going on the trail and obviously hooking up with some other dude was a guaranteed way. And I guarantee she knew that. And she probably did it consciously or even subconsciously, did it on purpose to guarantee to seal the deal of ending the relationship. Because obviously the guy found out about that she cheated on him just a few weeks into the trail, even though she said that would never happen. See? I cheated on him on the night I wrote my previous blog post about how lucky I was to be in such an amazing relationship, about how lucky I was to have such a strong support network back home. So she was keeping a blog on her journey on the trail, and one night after writing this about how great he was, great relationship, she cheated on him, okay? This is sabotage. Does this sound like someone you want to be in a relationship with? Does this sound like if you're a guy that's trying to move up in the world and actually be an adult and live like an adult, does this sound like someone you want to have on your journey as your girlfriend or God forbid, your wife? Hell no. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but I would say if you look at the big picture, this is good for the guy because he can move the hell on. But it shows her level of care and maturity towards him. She says, I blindsided him. All I want to say, I blindsided myself too. But I think I knew it was over before I even left. See? I'm a codependent person. Ding, ding, ding. I've always had a few people in my life whom I've relied on. Caleb was one of those people. We fell in love quickly and passionately after meeting in a basement at a party that neither of us wanted to be at. We adopted a dog together after barely 2 years of knowing each other. I told him I wanted to get married while I was feeling swirly at a fish show on New Year's Eve. I loved him with my entire soul. I wouldn't trust anything anybody would say to me if they are obviously onto something, let alone at a fish concert. Okay. For those of you guys who don't know what Phish is, Phish, look it up. You'll see what type of band that is. That says everything. I knew people in the late 90s that were all into Phish, and they were definitely interesting folk that like to wear tie-dyes and smoke certain things and all that. But this describes who she is. You can't get serious with somebody like that, but this guy was young. He doesn't know any better. But we were in a college relationship. College kept us together because we were in the same place and on the same track in life. When we graduated, things started to change. Caleb knew what he wanted, a job in the solar industry, a nice apartment in a real city, and stability. And he was ready to seek out that white picket fence. And me, well, I had no idea what I wanted. Big surprise. So Caleb, the boyfriend, is actually acting like an adult. Sounds like in a way he's on his purpose. He wants to obviously do well for himself, get a good job, save money, have nice things. Meanwhile, she wants to still live the free-spirited lifestyle. I don't know what I want to do. And you're going to see, and a lot of people when they graduate college and they're kind of like this, they just figure, hey, I'll go on to more college. I'll go on to a graduate degree. And then hope later on that taxpayers get to pay for their college because, God forbid, they have to pay for their own college. That's what we're doing right now in the world. Right now they're debating on trying to pay off portions of people's student loans, even though they signed on the dotted line for that. I shouldn't have to pay for somebody's student loans. I know I'm jumping into politics here, but I get a feel from my audience here that a lot of you think the same way as I do here. Anyhow, she says, and me, well, I had no idea what I wanted. I still don't. I had half-formed ideas about getting a short-term job and then going to grad school. See? And then hoping taxpayers will pay for that later on down the road. But I didn't feel crazy passionate about any of those things. It was just a shadowy idea that I needed to do something productive. When COVID hit, it gave me a lot of time to reflect on myself and my goals. Suddenly, it was an opportune time to start saving money for the Appalachian Trail. So instead of saving money for something practical, she's going to do it so she can go on a hike and ditch her boyfriend. Caleb was resistant to the idea from the beginning. I guess maybe he sensed that the trail would change something between us, despite my reassurances that our relationship was strong enough to withstand a 6-month hiatus. But it wasn't. Well, as I say more times than I can count, always pay attention to what people do, not what they say, especially with women. So she's reassuring him that everything's okay, everything's cool, it won't split us up. But he can tell, he obviously knows her by her actions. That's not the case. That's another lesson, guys. If you haven't heard me say it in other videos, always pay attention to people's actions, not their words. A trail full of changes. Coming onto the trail, I realized just how much I was using Caleb as a crutch. I was so lucky to be in a loving relationship, but I was also limiting myself because of it. I blocked out the voices telling me, I bet she hears voices, The voice is telling me that I wasn't entirely happy in my relationship because it was easier than admitting that we were together because of a comfort. Pre-trail, without Caleb, I thought I would drown. My life was so wrapped up in his. We lived together with our dog Child. We had the same interests and the same friends. To break up would mean to start anew, and to think that felt similar to looking at a huge mountain looming on the horizon. I couldn't even imagine how I would start over. Like I said here, she said flat out that she was together with him for comfort and all that. Okay? The trail is teaching me that I could be giving up too much of my freedom by settling down, and he has really proved that I am not ready for it. What I did to him was selfish and wrong, but I think it was a necessary teaching moment for me. Well, at the end of the day, if she wasn't right for him, she wasn't right for him and all that. It just sucks for him. But again, guys, these are important lessons nonetheless, okay? I personally think that probably when she comes back from her hike and realizes that she's broke and has nothing else, she's going to go back to him for stability. But maybe I'll find that out down the road. Trying to process it all. Honestly, the weirdest thing has been the lack of emotion regarding the entire breakup on my part. I've always been a ball of Roman candle emotions. Well, there's a big surprise. Explosive and impulsive. I feel everything always. But out here, I think the constant walking is actually sucking all my emotional energy away from me. No, she simply checked out of the relationship. The second she started thinking about going on the 6-month trek on the Appalachian Trail and ditching her boyfriend and that life, already she was done. Okay, that she may not even realize it, but she was done. Okay, and that's why she's not feeling any emotions or anything, because she doesn't care, because she checked out a long time ago. I'm just really trying to make that point with this video, guys, so you understand this. Girl ever breaks up with you and you think that she just moved on so easily, never cared. She checked out a long time ago. I barely processed the passing of a 3-year-long relationship. Again, a relationship where we lived together for 2 years and owned a dog. I keep waiting for the weight of it to hit me, and it just isn't. I know that I wish it hadn't ended in the way it did. It makes my heart feel like it's filling up with concrete to think of how much I hurt him. I hate to think of him wandering the city where we were supposed to make into our home all alone. But that's the extent of it. I feel like I'm in the eye of a hurricane. The shitstorm is swirling around me, and I'm just placidly meandering down a 2,200-mile trail. I wonder if the reality of it all will slam me when I submit to Katahdin. I can't even remember. I think it's some mountain or something like that, what she's trying to say here. But, yeah, now she's wondering, is this really going to hit me later on down the road? Again, I think she's going to leave the trail and say, oh, shit, I'm broke, so she's going to go to this guy. It's funny what makes me think of him, though. There are the normal things, like a song we enjoyed together, or familiar food. But then there's the other, more abstract things. I shared a twin bed at the Nature's Inn hostel with the guy I'm currently seeing, and couldn't stop thinking about Caleb. So weird, I know. So she's already on to some other dude, and obviously seeing some other guy on the trail. That didn't take long. Again, a lot of women, not only will they move on completely, but they'll also find another dude quickly to deal with those feelings of regret or feeling bad or anything like that to make it easier. Again, guys, this is why they can move on so quickly, because they also don't want to deal with the emotions of, obviously, maybe I was acting like a jerk, maybe I wronged the guy, so I'll just find a new guy and I don't have to worry about those and deal with those emotions. And then usually that guy breaks up with them, and then they're back to the original guy they dumped down the road. I was hit by such a strong nostalgia of cramming myself into the uncomfortable dorm beds at UVM our sophomore year at college. It was almost overwhelming. UVM is the University of Vermont. And like I said in the beginning, when I read this and she said she was from the University of Vermont, that said a lot to me, because, again, I've known guys that went to UVM. They're cool guys, but they're definitely certain stereotypes that go along with UVM type of people. Anybody that went to University of Vermont or are from Burlington, Vermont, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm in New England, I'm in Massachusetts, so Vermont's not that far away. It was also probably the saddest I've ever felt in regards to the entire ordeal. Honestly, I'm having a hard time ending this blog because it feels so personal. I've been putting this post off over and over again because the idea of publishing something like this has been extremely overwhelming, but has also been so much of my experience on this trail. I feel like it'd be wrong to hold it back. The reality of through hiking is that while it is amazing and often feels otherworldly, it still affects you in real life. And I'm trying to remember that I have a real life to go back to when this adventure ends. And it's hard because I'm sort of staring into a big black hole, but life will go on. So, I didn't do this story to talk about her feelings and emotions and all that. I can care less. But the point is, I'm doing this as an example, like I said in the beginning and multiple times, to show you guys what's going on, what to some degree is going on in a woman's head and her feelings, and how basically she'll check out long before the relationship there's actual breakup. So for you guys that ever wondered about that, now you know. And this is a perfect example, guys, of how sometimes one breaks up with you and you're torn to pieces and feel like it's all over with and how can I go on? You know what? And sometimes it's actually a good thing because she did you a favor. Because if you are an extreme opposite than her, okay, I mean, opposites attract, but you know what I mean here, especially in terms of life goals and things like that, you know, it's better that she ended it with you and you can move on and then focus on you. And if you do relationships later on down the future, you meet someone that you're aligned with in terms of life goals, because those two in this story here couldn't be any more different. This guy's growing up. He's being a man. He obviously is taking care of business, and she's still being a free spirit kid. And given the way she writes the story and things like that, that tells me that's really her personality, and she'll probably be that way her whole life. So her with a guy like this, it would just make him absolutely crazy. And it wouldn't work with her either. So best part ways. But again, just an example, guys, to show you these things. So anyhow, guys, quick story, but I thought it was a good one to share. So be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys, if you ever experienced something like this, where girl up and dumped you like that. You had no idea what happened. How could she just like that not care? How could she move on so quickly or move on to another guy? Let me know about that. Let me know how it worked out. And let me know about situations where a girl broke up with you, but when you cooled off and you moved on, you realize, you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened because she was a train wreck, total opposites. These are good things to share because guys do read these comments from all over the world. So, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.